Can I have a last sentence? I'll die if I don't say it.
Just say it into the camera then.
Camera. A lot of the chat about what is an Afrikaner looks backward. I want to say what's an Afrikaner looking forward. Wie word ek as 'n Afrikaner? I'm an Afrikaner whether what you think or not. I don't care about. I'm an Afrikaner, I know that. My question is, what type of Afrikaner and who will the Afrikaner be in 50 years' time?
Welcome back to Yo Ma Se Dialogue. This is the Betereinders podcast. This is the real talk, and we're having conversations that matter. At least we like to think so. And today, Trevor, you have the distinct pleasure of talking to us about Afrikanerhood and Afrikaner identity and us Afrikaners and blah blah blah. And in our previous episode, if I remember correctly, you spoke about how you perceive Afrikaners.
The stuff that I love about Afrikaners.
Yeah. And you also said a few things that you didn't like about the Afrikaners.
Did I?
But now it's
you were rude.
But now it's out.
Now it's payback time.
Payback time. Like we want to be the witnesses in our own defense.
Yeah.
But today is sponsored by
Us.
No, we sponsored it.
No, but listen, I know, but we thought the fact that a brownie is talking to two whiteys, we thought maybe we can. This is sponsored by Brownies Tens. Little Candy Kitchen.
We are sponsoring Brownie.
We are sponsoring that.
Yes,
they did not
that's
give
why
us anything.
correcting
I'm sorry. Trevor, congratulations. Is there anything that we can help you with?
I was going to say, let's pray before I ask you to pray for you.
It's the first time you want to pray. Is that you're really going to interrogate us that much?
But thank you for me, it's a privilege to have this conversation. How many, like as I said the last time, how many people have a chance to talk about these things, with the relevant people. So how do you define yourself as Afrikaners? Who is an Afrikaner?
First of all,
yes,
the one thing that all Afrikaners do, and it's something you are doing a bit of cultural appropriation here today. One of the compulsory things, Skalk, as you know, like when you become an Afrikaner and you're on the Afrikaner WhatsApp group, the first thing they ask you is, do you have something K-Way? And
explain, what's that?
The beanie that you are wearing, the K-Way beanie, Cape Union Mart brand.
We used to wear khaki clothing. Now we wear old khaki and K-Way. So we're glad to see we've colonized you sufficiently.
But maybe
to be
we should start
K-Way.
with that. There's a something about Afrikaners
on Heritage
male.
Day we wear K-Way.
Yeah, Afrikaners male. Often you see them wearing khaki clothes. Where does it come from?
It's so you don't see when we've pooped our pants. Then it's this. No, I'm joking. My dad was a farmer, so literally every day he just wore his khaki clothes. So you don't. So even in. Okay, I'm going to cause problem from the start here. Sure. But for me, I distrust any Afrikaner man who spends more time on his hair. Now, you might say it's because I don't have hair, but the way I grew up, you shouldn't be putting too much effort on your nails and hair and perfume and which flavored fragrance do you like. My dad was a farmer. In the morning, he gets up, he wears shoes like this. Brown socks, khaki shorts, and he takes out his khaki pants, khaki shirt, and he goes to work.
Yeah,
so there's no topic about what am I dressing, what's cool, brand names. So in a way, that khaki clothing, for me, that's not a farmer. It's very important culturally because it's not a sign of conservatism. It's a kind of a statement of, whether it's fake or not, I'm not sure, but it's like a statement of humility and practicality.
Or it's not militaristic.
No, not at all. Okay. It's just a work uniform.
To be sincere,
it's a work uniform. Khaki clothes is a work uniform. You work in the land, in the soil. You don't get dirty. It's practical.
It helps,
and I like that. In fact, so I think it's a nice thing. We're talking about Afrikaners And my black friends always say the one thing about Afrikaners is we don't have a fashion sense.
Yeah.
And they mean it as an insult, and I take it as a compliment.
It's a compliment.
It is.
Yeah.
They say it's a
I
bigger.
mean, I watch this guy when he comes, even in the last Sunday at our church. I mean, the way he was wearing.
I was trying my best. Like
he was
that was
badly dressed.
He was
that
badly
was-
dressed. So that would be
that's as
typical
good as it
Afrikaner.
gets. The thing about the clothing is many of my black friends at school, I remember they used to say, Johan, one day I would like to have the same amount of confidence as you to walk in a mall barefoot. Like if I can have that kind of confidence,
Yes.
I've reached the pinnacle. But as you were talking about spending more time on the hair, remember the Springbok rugby coach Harry Viljoen?
Oh,
So-
yeah, he had quite a capsule.
And he had highlights in his hair.
Oh, yeah.
And he
Explain
was,
what's that about? Highlights?
it's like when, I guess black people do it now as well, but when white people like put extra white, sort of white stripes.
White streaks in
Streaks.
the hair.
Okay, yeah.
Streaks in the
like
hair.
a punk.
Not quite. It's like
Yeah.
little spots of
Yeah,
white
yeah,
of
yeah.
white hair. And then I just remember, it doesn't matter what that guy did, if winning or losing, they would always say, he's got more highlights in his head than in his team. More highlights in his head than on the rugby field.
But it's interesting, it's a great example that you're throwing at us about the khaki outfit, because like with everything Afrikaner, it's not factual, it's somehow historic and it's changing, but we add emotion and sentiment to it. Like if you think about the Afrikaners, you had to be a Protestant, Calvinist, Christian to be an Afrikaner. And that's kind of part of the image. But today there's many atheists that will still say they're Afrikaners.
Yeah.
And so it's very difficult actually. Some Afrikaners, I can't even say this, they're vegetarian. So they don't eat biltong. But they
And
still say they're
Afrikaners,
Afrikaner.
yeah.
So I'm like, fine, you can still be an atheist and an Afrikaner, but you can't be a vegetarian and an
In
Afrikaner.
Afrikaner, okay.
I'm yet to meet such. But so
It's like a Zulu being a vegetarian.
yes,
Yeah.
or it doesn't make sense.
No. Okay.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
my thing is just from khaki uniform to biltong to Koeksisters to Melktert to Christianity to Protestantism
Yeah.
to our language.
Yeah.
I suppose Afrikaans you have to speak, but then there's more colored Afrikaans speakers
Yes, I was going to
than
go to
us.
that, yes.
So that's not
Yes.
to get to the thing that makes us Afrikaner. If you take all the nonsense aside, and people won't like this, but this is what we get as for honesty. You're white and you speak Afrikaans, then South Africans will call you an Afrikaner. So to act as if there's no race in it, I think is not honest. Otherwise, you are Afrikaans speaking. Then you are included with all your brown or colored friends.
Yeah.
Then and even then, the language is more theirs than ours.
Yeah.
But that's about Afrikaans.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify for the episode.
Yeah.
We're not talking about being an Afrikaans. We're talking about being an Afrikaner. Meaning, in the old days,
Yeah.
you were allowed to swim on the beach and speak Afrikaans.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
as simple
so we're
as
not
that.
we're not talking colors here. We're not talking. We're talking the Afrikaner.
Yes, there's one or two very fancy colors that want to call themselves Afrikaner, but very like in terms of I ask people,
Yeah.
and it is less than 0.11%.
Yeah.
But still, for me, if
Johan,
you,
But
would
there is-
you help us? Why would these white people call after the name of the continent? Because Afrikaans is from Africa.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not a historian.
Yeah, but
there is a definite association with the land, with the continent.
yeah,
So the one thing that I've heard many of my black friends, and I consider you also black and a friend, but what I've heard is that the one thing that you distrust about the English whites
yeah.
is that they've got a different passport.
They've got
in
two
the
passports,
in the
yeah,
back of their
yeah.
pocket, and even Zuma said it. The Afrikaners, they don't have a different passport. They associate with this continent. So there is that element. I think the irony, the great irony of I remember when the decolonization talk first emerged, people were saying, decolonize this, and there was something Afrikaner in me that said, yeah,
we like to decolonize.
get rid of the English.
yeah.
And then people,
You realize that it's against you.
and then when I realized, then I remember the guys singing at Stellenbosch back then. I think this is 2015, 2016, and I said, "Decolonize Stellenbosch, teach us in English. Decolonize Stellenbosch, teach us in English."
Oh, wow.
Like what? Come on, man. That's not decolonize. the English are the colonizers. They are the bad guys.
Yeah.
But I think you can't understand the Afrikaner without understanding the struggle for independence, this great founding myth of the Afrikaners, which is trying to escape the yoke of English rule. We want to determine our own future.
Yeah.
And then
It's very interesting. Sounds similar to us.
Yeah.
The very thing that you fought against,
we're not allowed to say it, but in our deepest hearts, we think black people should stop complaining and just imitate us, because we were oppressed and we've got out of our oppression. I'm sure we don't think about it, because if you really then act like us and do with us what we did to you, we won't be that happy.
Yeah, so please don't.
But in the attitude, you'll find a sentiment around the braaivleis that, listen, we liberated ourselves against the English.
Yeah,
What's your problem? Just liberate yourself.
Yeah.
And I like
and
that.
When we do it, you're not happy. You want to tell us how much
we'll feel oppressed.
Pontificate and then lecture us how we must do it.
Yes.
Yeah, so you tell us about constitution and human rights, as if when you took the land, you thought about the human rights of black people, when actually you didn't.
Yeah, my tribe won't say we took the land. They'll say at least we gave mirrors and draad and whatever. But I want to get back to the emotional side of it. Bob Marley sings that song, Redemption Song. It seems all black people know it, but whites don't. But in there's a slogan, none but ourselves can free our minds.
Wow.
And I must say, as an observer in my own country, as much as we don't like the English, and like my dad really have issues, but he speaks perfect English with a perfect English accent. So that is part of his liberation of the mind, is I can do your stuff the same as you.
Yeah.
So we first want to match you, then we want to beat you, and then we'll feel, okay, we are liberated in our minds, because we're so secure that we really feel free. So in English, I might still not like them, but they don't have anything on me in terms of confidence. I don't feel inferior to any English person. But, and maybe I'm throwing the question back at you, on the white-black sentiment, I feel there's a pain and an unhealingness where if like a English person can call me anything, I don't. But in terms of when you add race to it, and I'm on social media, when people start sharing pictures of baboons and monkeys and houtkop, and like we've got about 100 bad names for black people, by the way, which we use groenewalds, and I mean I'm tempted to ask you for more, because I think he's got about 40. But when we use those things, it really causes deep hurt. So I just want to say that's where it's different from me. The Afrikaner English thing is there, but it doesn't have the raw woundedness as black-white issues.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
But
no, not now. But I mean, we know.
But it's subtle and it's sophisticated.
But it doesn't.
It's a Cold War.
It's not. I don't think it's a war anymore. It's irrelevant. We just play that.
Well, no. I mean,
do you feel insecure towards an English person?
No. Yeah, my wife, big time.
But so, you've got children.
Your wife is English.
Yeah, I know.
So you colonized
Keep your
back.
enemies closer.
Yeah.
You recolonized her.
So this was my ultimate way of trying to show the English. I'll take your woman.
Yeah,
well I will take your woman.
Okay, but now a lot of makes sense. He's married to an English.
But he wouldn't want my son to marry an Afrikaner. His daughter.
You might, because you guys play lobola.
I'm in for that. But you don't get any of my boys. But my daughter's up for grabs.
No, we repent. We're not serious.
But I want to go to this thing. Sorry, Afrikaner and continent. Do you see yourself really as Africans? I mean, we just had 59 of you going to America, and they call themselves.
But there's 600,000 that's already left or more. We leave. I fight with my own tribe around that for 10 years, and that's why some Afrikaners dislike me.
Yeah.
Because I challenge my own tribe what I've been challenged with myself when I was young. I had to be honest. I loved dogs more than black people. I definitely love rhinos more than black people.
Yeah.
I love the Africa as a continent. So the sunrise, the dust, the red soil, the nice weather. I'm an African. When Becky says that, I feel it but I'm thinking of the natural environment. Kruger National Park, my dad's farm, the cows.
But
I'm an
not the
African,
people, not
the Africans, we don't love so much. And that's my fight with my tribe.
I like that.
You'll never feel at home in Africa when you don't like and enjoy Africans. And that's not being woke or political. That's just reality, dude. You're black, you're white in a black continent. And when you can't make peace with that, you'll always want to find a little spot where you can make a small Europe in this black continent. And there's names for that. We know that. Like
so isn't it so it wouldn't be a coincidence that at the same time, at least in apartheid days, it will be upfront. You say you are Europeans, even in the bus or at the beaches, you to say Europeans only. And it didn't mean Europeans, they meant you guys. So
we identified as Europeans. You know, Johan knows this. But then that came out of fashion in 94. We flipped and we said we're not Europeans anymore. We are African because we immediately, as a minority not in charge, we immediately knew, we've got to legitimize our presence and we've got to fight for our survival. And the first move in the whole narrative was to say, we're not Europeans anymore, we are African, meaning I have a right to be here. I must be protected, I must have my things which I can keep. So don't think anything is just that's by loyalty to the continent.
That's
because
a bit
we weren't.
Because
it is, but we weren't Africans under apartheid. We started pushing that one.
We were pushing a Western perspective.
Yes.
And writing European on the
which is obviously very stupid, and apparently the Americans were super confused when they came to visit South Africa, because only Europeans are allowed to sit on these benches. But I think where the difference comes in is that when we built let's say mines or institutions or factories or whatever, it wasn't Anglo-American. It wasn't Anglo gold, Anglo platinum or whatever. It was SASL, South African. What SASL stands for. It was Afbop. It was ISCOR, etc. So, in other words, it wasn't
SAPC.
It was we don't see ourselves as European in the sense that we've got a satellite company here and we are sending the wealth back that side. We see ourselves as Western. We draw inspiration from that civilization, from that culture, but we are attached to the continent.
The commitment is very local. So when I talk about European, there's the part of the location. So not your location where you're staying. It's the location. So there's Europe, there's South Africa. We have an undeniable commitment to this place and not to Europe. So again, in terms of the land, we don't have any affinity to the land of Europe.
But when it hits your pocket, then you run to...
No, not even. We are not committed. Even. We are committed locally.
But we is
no, here we're sitting. Talk to the ones who's run away.
But they're also Afrikaners.
But I'm staying. So just hang on, I just want to say the European African thing, we are 100% African in terms of the space, the continent, the place, South Africa. We're here to stay. But when we put on the benches Europeans only, it was code for white. And
we know,
and that is still alive. I don't care which Afrikaner argues with me, because when we see a dirty town in South Africa, which is not hard to find. Afrikaners will say stuff like, hier is 'n regte nes. It's a nest. Like a nest full of ants, little black things crawling, making dirty. So hier is 'n regte nes. And then we'll say stuff like, that's just not our way. That's not the white way. It's not the Afrikaner way. And we feel a big distance between our whiteness and Africanness, because Africans are like taxi drivers. It's chaos, it's this. So when I talk about European identity, I'm not talking about any loyalty to their continent.
Just giving a context.
I'm just talking about, because when you talk to Afrikaner, the first thing they'll have to admit Me, I'm from the town Heerde in Netherlands, 1706. So I've been here 300 years, but my heritage is there.
Yeah.
Then the whites will be very proud to say I'm a French Huguenot, because Victim podcast, you can go back and listen to it. The French Huguenots were victims of oppression. So they ran away. They are victims up to today. So it's like a struggle history that they have. Struggling in the Reformation. So,
but there's very little.
But you can never say, even the Afrikaner verklaring of last year, what did they start with? They say the Afrikaner is a group very much committed here locally, but our heritage is from Europe. But they're too shy to say white.
Yeah.
So,
Johan, I know I interrupted you earlier. I have another question, but can I? You were about to say something? Or?
Yeah, I can't remember what I wanted to say, but it was going to be profound.
Yeah. But let me ask you then a question.
No. I'll just respond to this. I think just a number of things. Maybe I'm not so cynical about the Afrikaner as my colleague Skalk, but I think there's very little that the Afrikaner still feel when they are in Europe in terms of heritage. Like I've tested this with a lot of my friends. It's not when I walk in the streets of Amsterdam, I don't feel like, oh, this is home, or there's a sense of familiarity here.
You feel more African,
Well, when I land at OR Tambo, and the East Rand is as ugly as it comes, there is a sense of homecoming that I experience. And the Afrikaners who are abroad, the one thing that you can say about them is that there is a nostalgia back to, they don't feel like they are home. That side.
I agree 100% with you.
There is a sense that those Afrikaners are not home. They feel like they are expats, but they are
exiles, strangers.
Exiles. They are exiles in Europe. They are exiles in America. They are exiles in Australia. So I do think over 300 years there is a connection with the land, and there is a connection with its people as well. It's not always a deep connection, and I think what Skalk alludes to that I can also associate with is when AfriForum Solidariteit, they recently brought out this ons bloed is oranje.
Yeah, I wanted to go to that, but okay, you can go ahead.
Yeah, our blood is orange.
Yeah,
type of thing. And
for somebody who doesn't know, maybe for like an average black people who know what that expression means, because they think some of them don't take literally that your blood is orange.
We're also not sure.
We're also a tad confused, but I think orange is the color of the Protestant, and I'm basing this on their little explainer. It's the color of the Protestant, and then they also say it's the color of this African sunset. And it's the color of the Orange River.
And it's the color of Oranje.
And it's coincidentally also the color of the future homeland of the Afrikaner. But that's where Skalk is, I think, spot on. That there's this attachment to the river.
The homeland of the. Did you say the future homeland of the Afrikaners? You thought you were going to sneak that in there. No, I know. Don't be distracted, but I just said I noted that. We'll come back to that, but sure. Continue.
But what is just interesting about that is that there is this attachment to the river, to the sunset, and to sort of the Protestant mission here to the southern tip of Africa.
That helps.
But there is not a deep attachment necessarily to the people of
I just want to throw in,
Africa.
You're saying we don't feel at home in Amsterdam. Like when I went to Heerde, the town where we're from,
where is it? Is in
Holland.
It's in Holland. I've also been to Holland.
I felt like a complete stranger in Heerde.
Yeah.
But the question is not, do we feel at home in London or Amsterdam or Sydney or Perth? My point is, do we feel at home in Soweto and Mamelodi as Afrikaners?
I don't think so.
That's where I'm saying, and you might think I'm skeptical of being an Afrikaner, but I'm very ambitious.
Yeah.
Because I want to keep my tribe to a point that is so radical and at peace that as an Afrikaner, I can feel at home in Soweto and Mamelodi and wherever, feel 100% at home.
Yeah.
That's my mission.
Yeah.
And in a way, it's very arrogant because I'm also saying I'm white and I belong here.
Yeah.
But maybe with a different posture and angles.
Yeah.
But my end goal is to be fully South African.
Yeah.
in my Afrikanerness.
Yeah.
And other people feel that those two compete.
Yeah. I just want to say, maybe it will sound like I'm patronizing you, but I've seen you in the township. We've been to a number of township in a black sense, because township is an English word. It means every location, but I'm saying Ekasi, like Soweto, Achretville. The other time we were in Tembisa, then we went to in Mpumalanga. What was that other one where we played soccer?
Yeah.
And then now recently, about a month ago, we were in Kameentrift, yeah. And there's a squatter camp there. And then I saw you coming with your kids, and then it's something that you observe, and then you as a black person, that you say, wow, not many Africans or white people like you would do that. So in that way, I'm saying this to say to you, I commend you, I salute you, because many of, even the English, we don't even do that, let alone a number of Afrikaners. So
we are very consistent at villainizing the English at this podcast.
But we're on track. It binds us. And it's not about going to the township to go and paint a creche and hand out bread or something. It's about going to learn how to feel at home in your own country.
Yeah.
That's what I want for my kids.
Can I tell you something funny?
Before that, isn't it, maybe to just get to you now, to make you angry, isn't it nice of you, Afrikaner, when it suits you, you just change your definition, you're no longer European, and one day you are European, and one day, whenever you want, you can change your definition, and we must follow along without questioning? Do you hear my cynicism?
But can't one be a hybrid?
Come again?
Can't one be a hybrid by saying that?
Yeah, but it's when it's convenient. Why is it only when it's convenient?
No, look, like that the Europeans only signed the whites only thing was 100% a huge mistake, a grave injustice.
Then say it.
Is a fact.
Then at the TRC, your leaders, you see this discussion. It's way too late. We're supposed to have it before we were born in the 50s. So then we have to hear those people who say we are sorry, we are now Africans. We just wake up and then suddenly you guys are Africans. And then you tell us, and then we must just follow along. So when you say it's a mistake, it's like, but this was calculated and thought, and then because we live in a global world and you realize you can analyze, what I mean?
But I don't think
it would be nice for an African. After all, you guys are Christians to say.
But I'll be worse. It wasn't a mistake. Mistake for me. I know he's still learning English, but mistake is the worst word for me for apartheid.
I say the grave injustice.
Yes, so, it's a tragedy.
So you can, I don't think one has to nitpick. It's obviously very wrong, but I also think it is not quite truthful to suggest that we are just playing the game. And that, we now quickly change track because we realized we were in trouble. I do think there is this hybrid identity of a Western heritage to a certain extent, and a deep attachment to the country, to the land, as we articulated it, and that we said Europeans only, and now we changed the signs. Or now we're not European anymore. Obviously, it was also trying to, I think, back in apartheid, to appeal to sort of the Western powers to sort of support us economically, etc. So there was that game, but I don't think one can look at the Afrikaner today and say, you guys, just out of sheer survival, decided that you guys are African a few minutes after the ANC won the election in 1994. I think there was a deep attachment to the soil, to the country, as we alluded to, how businesses were set up, etc. It's not.
Well, I'll disagree. I'll agree to disagree.
No,
Orania, can you go to agree? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, just before we go to Orania, metaphorically speaking, I think I like what both of you are saying. We never just play games. We kind of sincere in how we experience and we even change in how we view ourselves. But where you are right, and you're asking, is it convenient or truthful, whatever, I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it is a reality that as a tribe, we shift. So at one stage, we found our identity and holiness in being separate, like God's people, separate from the heathens. That was who we were.
Yeah.
Then we had 94 and Mandela was nice to us, whatever. And then we did shift in the way that we are African towards the people. And we tried to take on the Rainbow Nation thing. And that was a shift. So we identified not just with the soil, but with Africans.
Okay.
We embraced the new flag, blah, blah, blah. But now what I want to say in recognition of your critique is that flavor of the Rainbow Nation, and I'm not talking about the political ideal because the politics is a complete disaster with government. But in terms of our relation to black people, that Rainbow Nation looking out for each other, brothers and sisters, that is dying again.
Yeah.
And it's shifting back to the point where it's cool to make a song that says my blood is orange. So we became from white trying to be integrated, and then through Zuma and corruption and Malema, we kind of, because then we make the mistake of confusing the government with blackness. And now we're shifting back to a preference again of being by ourselves. And it's not to say... This is where
you go into Oranje now.
And I think that takes us into that discussion, not Oranje as a space, because they have the right to do that and cut their own grass, but as a symbol. And a dream, and in Afrikaans we have this nice word, a hunkering, and what I call a desire, a yearning for what I call apartness, away from that which irritates us.
Okay.
Like, God bless you, and God bless me, but He blesses you there, and He blesses me here, and I'll send over some drivers every now and again. That's I think something that's making a comeback, replacing the myth of the Rainbow Nation, because unfortunately politics and crime and corruption killed the Rainbow Nation, which for me is very sad, because for me the Rainbow Nation, Tutu's ideal, firstly the gay movement stole our rainbow, by the way, of which we stole it from Noah, but nevertheless the Rainbow Nation is dead, but that killed our journey with black people and black Africans, which for me is sad, because that shouldn't have happened. Because now the assumption is, because you keep voting for ANC or MK or whoever, that you are part of that corruption and uselessness. And that's why I'm seeing in my own tribe a drift again emotionally away from the Africans of Africa. Is that unfair that I'm saying? Or remember, I'm not saying I'm self-critiquing. I'm sticking to my tribe. I'm raising a kid as an Afrikaner. So I'm not saying it to be rude to anyone. I'm just trying to be honest about what's happening.
I think in that, and what you just described is 100% true. I think I think what I critiqued was just this idea of the Afrikaners playing this massive identity game, shifting from European to Afrikaans as it African as it pleased them. I don't think that's fair.
No, we were sincere.
But when it comes to what's happening now, what I find so fascinating is that I'm reading two different groups of people. I'm reading the Africanist, the black radical Africanists, they critique on South Africa post 94, etc. And I'm listening to Ernst Roets, who's getting a lot of publicity, and some of the ideas coming from there. And they both critique the idea of South Africa. This Joel Modiri, he's I think head of jurisprudence here at the University of Pretoria. So he's a very influential academic in the legal world. And he writes, and every time he writes about South Africa, he puts it in inverted commas. So it's just this construct.
Just the name, or he doesn't want a nation?
He wants to deconstruct everything. This whole idea of borders, this whole idea of South Africa as a construct that you can take back to the 1910 Union, etc.
No, it's true,
And then when I listen to Roots, and he's on Tucker Carlson or whatever, he talks about South Africa as just a construct, 1910, and what we need to go back to is, on the one hand, you had the Transvaal flag, you had the Free State flag. And what is so fascinating, this is a bit of a tangent, but what is so interesting is that when I heard that the old South African flag is this racist flag, it's interesting because many of the Afrikaners I knew never liked the old South African flag.
The orange, white and blue one.
Yeah. because it had the British flag in the middle.
Exactly.
So
I also thought of
they
that.
didn't like that.
Yeah.
They liked the other two flags.
Yeah.
That was the woke flag. The orange, white, and blue one was the woke liberal flag. And up to today, when you go to see where they put the white crosses on the hill, they'll be waving the vierkleur, the four
You won't see the
colors.
old South African flag. You'll see the flag within the flag. It's like
Yes.
Inception.
Yeah.
So it's very very strange. But the point is that now the conversation is what I found so interesting is when Ramaphosa was in the Oval Office with Trump and they had the whole theater there, then the leader of Urania is now a guy called Joost Strydom. He's a very well-spoken guy. And
he was in that delegation.
No.
Okay.
No. So and he just responded online. He just said that the fact that Ramaphosa didn't know where those crosses were, and by the way, they were, I think we said it in the previous episode, it was close to my hometown, and I also didn't know about those crosses in Newcastle. And then he said, this is such a slap in the face to Afrikaners, and it's just, again, another more proof that the different tribes in South Africa live in completely different realities.
Yeah.
He says they live in completely different realities. And then he says, the solution, self-determination.
Self-determination.
Yeah.
So in other words, we are...
So you'll have a federal state of provinces, something like that.
But then we want one for us.
Yeah.
So my problem with that is...
But the point is, it's so different.
Yeah.
Like our lived experience is so different.
Yeah.
And by the way, I would say the Africanists, your radical black guys, are also speaking... They're using similar language. Like it's impossible for us to have this conversation black and white because this whole thing is probably contaminated with whiteness and whatnot. We are using the same type of language on both sides.
Vocabulary,
that it's almost impossible for us to have dialogue, for us to think about. So this whole South African project is really impossible. So the best thing you can do is to divide South Africa back into tribal, ethnic, language enclaves and try and operate from that. So in that sense...
But it's like going back 100 years.
It's not, because we're drifting now.
But it is. That's why they problematize the union.
Yeah.
That's why Roots on Tucker Carlson would go back. Remember, this whole idea of South Africa started in 1910. So let's... And remember, their critique, the Afrikaner critique, is also against this globalist idea that we can come together under a constitution or under abstract ideas. The only way that we can govern ourselves is if we are with people that speak our language, that understands our history.
Culture.
There's something that's the only way for us to build a civilization.
Yeah, well,
but then you should be speaking Xhosa and ons moet nou Afrikaans praat, dan is dit nou reël. Maar omdat ons Engels praat en hy nie Xhosa praat nie en ons Afrikaans nie, dan is hierdie nou fake.
Maar dit is nou eintlik nog ons lekker nou dat ons Afrikaans praat.
Ja, totdat hy Xhosa praat.
Wat dink jy van Travis en Missy?
And Tati, what do you...
Yes,
I want to ask you and Johan the same question is, hoekom noem jy jouself 'n Afrikaner? And when you hear Afrikaner, how would you tell someone, let's say there's someone here from Brazil, and they ask you, what's an Afrikaner? What would you answer them? What is an Afrikaner?
I think for me, I've always had a challenge. I mean, at a superficial level, I'll say an Afrikaner, it's like the one who's got his roots is Dutch or, from Netherlands. But now that we have colors, so for me, it's like it's a difficult question because then you have to bring them.
But you call them, do you refer to colors as Africans? As Afrikaners?
Because of their language. Because many of them, they have a skin like mine. We have one in our church.
Look like you, sound like me.
Yeah, like, you met Bongani.
Yes.
Bongani is black. He lives in Kliptown. But he speaks Zulu and Sotho, township language. But when you hear him talk with his mother, they're all black. They speak in Afrikaans. And it always baffles me.
Praise the Lord.
Because of that, I realize that I can't always think of Afrikaner as those white people. They are these.
But you see, again, I'm just pushing back, saying you are talking about Afrikaans.
Yeah.
Where our friends will fall on their backs if they hear Bongani is an Afrikaner. No, in the week, because I've got a friend, Saki, who's more black than you, but he grew up among white people, among Afrikaners in a Christian setting. So he wear khaki clothes, and he calls himself an Afrikaner, but his skin is black. And I've had in the week.
But is he Afrikaner in the true sense?
Week,
because
he told me, someone told me he can't say he's an Afrikaner. And I'm like, dude, there's no Zulu, no nothing in him. Except for his skin color. So can you
that
be
is changing a bit.
Can you be then a black Afrikaner, or can you be a colored Afrikaner?
So I have a confession.
Yes,
I have
exactly.
a confession to make. So I am moving to a place in Pretoria called Die Moot.
Meaning? It's the name of a place.
The Moot is a moat, like between two mountains. Is that a thing? Like a dip.
Okay.
And we always talk about Urania as the homeland, like the future Afrikaner homeland. But the only thing we need to do to have an Afrikaner homeland is build a wall around the moat.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you to continue with the story, because we've been throwing this name Orania. Some of our people overseas, they will not know what is Orania. Just in
So Urania, I think it is built on private land. It's privately bought.
Where is this?
Bought land.
South Africa? Is it South Africa?
It's right in the middle of South Africa.
Okay.
Very strategic.
Very strategic, in the middle of South Africa. And it's Northern Cape, next to the Orange River.
Yeah.
And
who stays there?
A handful of Afrikaners. I mean,
Only Afrikaners.
It gets far more attention than it.
But it's thousands. It's growing and it's successful.
Is it only Afrikaners?
Yeah.
Is it intentionally was like that?
Yeah. So you have to apply to become part of the town, and then. But I have friends who are, and this is, I think, also important, that I've got friends who are part of the Urania movement. They are sympathetic. I've got people in my church who are sympathetic towards the Urania movement and associated with the Urania movement, and they are not bigoted racists in any cartoonish, obvious sense of the word.
Yeah.
So I think it's important. Honesty demands that we say that, but they see Urania as this cultural, I want to say, almost village. It is the way of protecting
your culture,
protecting Afrikaner culture and identity.
Yeah.
And I think these guys specifically, they see it as sort of a place where you go and understand again who you are.
Yeah.
Much like a traditional Zulu village, this is a traditional Afrikaner town.
Yeah.
Other people see it as the future, and it must be built into a Singapore. And but these friends of mine, I think they associate more.
Yeah. And I'm happy that I don't know them, but as a black person, it just makes me shiver, because when I think of how apartheid started, was started that way.
But in Orania, black people don't have to cut the grass or wash our clothing.
They're not allowed.
We do it ourselves.
Yeah. No, but
so that's the big difference.
But it's
my question is, why can't black people come and stay there?
I like the honesty about his question, because in all these Afrikaner verklaring, Oranje, they'll never talk about black and white like I do. They'll just say it's a culture. If you associate and you're part of the culture, then you are welcome in Oranje.
Oh, I can come as
So
a black person.
I still want to know, as a black person, can you be an Afrikaner? Can you live out the Afrikaner culture? Because in Oranje, all black people love visiting Oranje, by the way.
Oh, wow.
There's hundreds of videos on YouTube.
Why would
we receive you there, hospitality. All the black people come back. Zuma, everyone's been there. Gayton Mackenzie, everyone's been there. They love visiting.
But they can't sleep off.
They can sleep. They can
You
sleep.
can't become a resident.
So that's my question is, could a Saki or colored Afrikaners who fits in the... No, they're not rude at all.
You've got Kleinfontein, which is here outside of
we're
Pretoria.
playing soccer there, yeah.
No, that's Kameeldrift. Kleinfontein, you're not allowed to play soccer there, Baba.
As a black person.
Or as any person. I think soccer is just a bad idea at Kleinfontein in general. Yeah. But that is, I think... So you may have picked up that I think we need to defend Urania a little bit from caricatures, etc.
Yeah.
Kleinfontein we don't have to defend. I think it is as racist as it is.
Yeah.
It's like a whites only estate type of thing. Urania I think is more sophisticated. There is some thinking behind it.
Yeah.
Are there black people already living there? If there's a black person who wants to associate with the Afrikaner
I've
culture,
I've at least heard of some of my friends who are in that movement, and they would say that a Saki who identifies with the Afrikaner history,
the music, the language,
the religion, that he must be allowed to be there.
Can we launch a crowdfunding for Saki Smith, my black friend wearing khaki, who identifies as an Afrikaner? So we do a crowdfunding, GoFundMe, so that we can buy Saki property.
Yeah, my cynical Trevor says no.
Let's uplift
sorry to
Saki.
push you a little bit. You were telling us you were making a confession, and I push you to tell people what is
a little bit,
Orania. And then
we got to it. We got to it a little bit, which is to say that this area that I'm going into is very, very Afrikaans, and there I'm seeing quite a few black kids from orphanages and from other places that are growing up Afrikaans and Afrikaner, and really seem to associate with it. And I think it's hard for me to imagine that they will not be allowed citizenship in Urania as I view it from the outside. But this is pure speculation.
Yeah.
Can I ask that we maybe just unpack why we are not necessarily excited about the idea of Urania and self-determination?
When you say we, who is we?
Well, I think the three of us.
Okay, yeah.
And
obviously myself.
And typically the question that people would ask is the Zulus have a form of self-determination. In the Ingomnyama Trust and some cultural villages, the Xhosas, they've got a sense of self-determination. Why is it wrong when the Afrikaners want a sense of that? So why? What is our objection?
It's not wrong. It's stupid, because the Zulus can't all go and live on the land of Ingomnyama Trust.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to
that
own,
thing is new.
They want to have farms and whatever. So you can't ever, and that's the practicality. You from Newcastle in KZN. Think of all your farmer friends in Natal. Think of all our Afrikaner friends in Mpumalanga. Now, if we're going to divide the country federally by tribes, and let's say that we get given the desert in the Northern Cape by some miracle, what's then happening to all these Afrikaner farmers in all the other provinces that's outside of our tribes? And like the battle for the police, we can't just say the police in Western Cape is going to clean up. So does that mean all of us must stay in the Western Cape because the police is corruption free in the Western Cape? So we put all our efforts on the Western Cape and on Northern Cape. Then just my loyalty to where I grew up on a farm, and all the other people must they all sell and pack up? Or what happens with their governance? What happens to the commitment? Like, let's say, what happens to the commitment of our democracy that's going to affect all the Afrikaners? Because there is no chance ever that even 10% of Afrikaners is going to move to the same town. We can't agree on anything. So for me, that idea of Ingomnyama Trust for Afrikaners, it's for a small portion to get their own way and live their thing. But they mustn't act as if they're talking about Afrikaners who's wearing Levi jeans and go and drive German cars and whatever. Yeah. So they are not speaking on behalf of Afrikaners and the homeland for Afrikaners. It's always going to be a small minority that can live in Africa the way they want. Yeah. But it's not for us.
Yeah.
It's not for the bigger tribe. And the same that Ngonyama can't be for all the Zulus.
Yeah.
I think that's just a myth we have to...
But why can't the Afrikaners have a little village for themselves?
I don't have a problem
they can
with
have
that.
It,
I don't have a problem with that. My problem is we're having this discussion many, many, many years later. When you have messed up black people in the country and you throw them around, and we call it the legacy of apartheid. And now that you are in the corner, we say, now let's talk. We want to have our land. When actually, the very people, the Afrikaners, they push the Zulus there, they put the Xhosa and say, homeland, homeland, homeland. Now, they never wanted the homeland. South Africa was belonging to them.
We wanted everything there. Now we just want a small piece.
Exactly. Now today, homeland is cool. It's for Afrikaners. The question is like, what's wrong when we do that? We were pushed. We were forced. What if we turn it around? We force the Afrikaners. And we go, you're not going to be in... Orania will get a a homeland for you. You'll go next to Lesotho.
Some of them will be happy.
No, they would
say,
of
them will be happy.
When we went to Orania, there was nothing. What we want is a piece of land. There can be nothing there that we want. And many of them...
We would use the same logic of apartheid and say, we wanted to stay in George Gogo, you push us there, so you're not going to go there.
The Freedom Front, the Conservative Party that preceded the Freedom Front, when they entered the negotiations, they said, we want what we gave you, a homeland. Give us a little piece.
They'll be happy with that. I'm not saying I'm saying they will be happy.
Give us what we gave you. Give us just a portion of homeland. And at that stage, Eugene Ter Blanche was fighting. I think it's Louis Theroux or somebody. Like which area we Afrikaners will get. No, the blacks can have Joburg. But we want this and that.
Johan, about Afrikaners and Christianity. Always when you hear about Afrikaners, they always bring this the Christian national education. Everywhere the Afrikaners are, they always call themselves Christians. Are you guys really Christians?
Trev, I want to answer that. But I do want to just also say, I think my criticism against Urania or against this idea of self-determination for a moment, if that is okay. I know
that's fine.
I know this is yet another experience of a white guy ignoring the black guy. But forgive
we'll
me.
remind you of the question.
I feel but sorry for myself.
There we go. So sorry about that. But I think, and I tell this to my friends who's sympathetic to Urania, and again, I want to defend them as not these caricatures, blah blah blah. Is that I don't think that there might be a time where Afrikaners living in an Afrikaner village type of thing, cleaning their own toilets, what will not hurt. But it's not now. Right now, it is still very painful
but Johan,
with the history
just
of
to
apartheid.
Interrupt you a little, you continue. Why should we make it an issue that they clean themselves? I mean, people clean their stuff, but when you talk about they clean for them. People should do that. Why should it come into the Zulu? They clean for themselves. The Xhosa, but why should we make an issue? Don't forget the line of thought that you were. I'm just not wanting to know that.
No, that's what happened under apartheid. Is we wanted to have a place where you weren't welcome, but you were welcome to come and clean.
And the Urania guys would say that we don't want boss-ship. Boss-skap. In other words, blacks can't just come and clean. We need to do those menial jobs as well. Otherwise, we'll always have a patronizing relationship with black people. But my primary problem...
Did you hear my face? Yeah, but go ahead.
Did I hear your face?
Yeah.
But my primary... Listen, if we want to engage with them, let's engage with them let's try and defend them as well as they will defend themselves, or at least try, okay?
Yeah, but you can imagine I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah. But I do think, on the one hand, history does have an impact. And right now, the actions that we do, it communicates a particular message. And the message of Urania, or the message of that separateness at the moment, I just think is painful. And on the other hand, I don't think that this is just Johan speaking. I don't think it's immoral. I don't think Urania is necessarily immoral. I just don't think it is as beautiful as it can be. I am just significantly more excited by a Rassie Erasmus and a Siya Kolisi coming together and doing this beautiful thing that is the Springboks.
But they've got a rugby team that's much better now. They're going to play against the Springboks. It's going to be the Cook sisters, then the Springboks. And then we'll see who's the strongest.
And the idea of South Africa, the idea of us making this country work in our diversity, I wouldn't tell people who want to go to Urania, for example, to say that you're wrong, it's immoral. I would say, you are in an opportunity to heal past divisions, and there is something beautiful when we come together. And I would want to invite people into the vision of the Rainbow Nation, not to tell them it's immoral and you're bad for going there.
There's something more beautiful. I want to be racist and liberal at the same time. My problem with Urania, with our history and what's happened and where we are today, and the gap that's even in South Africa with BE and all this oppression that whites are having, the gap is still increasing in South Africa. So my biggest fear with Urania is, and my prediction, it will be a hell of a success. If it gets bigger and there's only Afrikaners, it will outshine the rest of South Africa. And it will expose the rest of South Africa. That is on one hand very good if it can be a lesson learned or whatever. But what I know about the history of our country is you will set yourself up for constant attack and you won't live peacefully in that pocket. And the better you get at it, the more beautiful it gets because of our history of race, which we cannot ignore. The bigger the problem is. And then when you go out of that to play sports or to do culture, it's this hateful thing because the more success here, the more poverty
the
here.
The irony is people move there for safety and yet its success will never be sustainable.
Its success will be its own ondergang. So that's the problem. And that's why, although that pure thing could be beautiful for some people, in South Africa, because of what we've been through, we now have to fight together against corruption in the whole country. From Natal, the Drakensberg, the Kruger National Park, the Clarence in the Free State, Eastern Cape. We have to fight together for the whole thing.
Are we going to have time for maybe not this episode? We're talking about Afrikaners and Christianity.
We must, but at the moment we are way out of time, Baba.
Okay. We are Christians in theory.
he's being mean to my
to
my people.
Are we not Christians in theory?
That's a cliffhanger. On that wonderful note. We definitely didn't exhaust the topic, Trev, but I think this is part of this national master dialogue that Ramaphosa called.
Ramaphosa wanted dialogue, and here it is.
Yeah.
Can I have a last sentence? I'll die if I don't say it.
Just say it into the camera then.
Camera. A lot of the chat about what is an Afrikaner looks backward. I want to say, what's an Afrikaner looking forward? Wie word ek as 'n Afrikaner? I'm an Afrikaner whether what you think or not. I don't care about. I'm an Afrikaner, I know that. My question is, what type of Afrikaner and who will the Afrikaner be in 50 years' time? I'm very secure in Tati Trevor. I'm a white Afrikaner. I'm happy with that, but who will I become? Not where do I come from, but where am I going? That's for me the big discussion among Afrikaners that's needed.
They're not looking
You're doing so well. Just keep your gaze and close it.
Jou ma se dialoog, Betereinders Real Talk. Betereinders dink ek is 'n baie goeie voorbeeld van Afrikaners wat 'n nuwe tipe Afrikaner wil wees. Ook Christene, dit, dat, en ons is Suid-Afrikaners. So alles wat ons doen is eintlik vir die kindertjies van die Afrikaners, en ek sê dit in Afrikaans. So ons moet praat oor wat se Afrikaner, anders gaan dit net verdwyn. So kom ons stry eerder en praat eerder, as wat ons net stil bly en skaam raak oor ons Afrikanerskap, en kom ons hou die dialoog warm.
And this is called Droewors, Baba. If you want to talk about what is an Afrikaner,
meat. We didn't even.
This is the.
Moenie gooi nie.
Yeah, but in my culture, you don't throw food.
That's what I'm telling him. But he doesn't learn in 30 after all the years.